Today on Dead Dodge Garage, we talk about my plans for that thing. After cleaning all of this. Ugh. This is just bad. Luckily, I have my old friend Cider Balls for moral support. Alright, that's not so bad. That's only like half of the toolbox. You know, it wasn't long ago that this was clean, virgin cement, unruined by automotive messes. Oh well, it's the next morning, and this pile wouldn't even drive back in the shop last night. It doesn't have ignition 2 cranky ignition power, and I flooded the crap out of it. Oh, and the battery connections got rainwater in them, so yeah, a hood would be nice. After staring at the car for a bit and racking my brain and giving myself a headache, I've concocted this list of things a daily driver needs. Right at the tippy top of the list, nice seats. It just so happens I have a set of Durango seats. They're not heated, but they do have seatbelts attached to them, which would be very easy to retrofit in the Barracuda. And that'll be safe. Good for a daily driver, you know. Sure, they got a Dodge emblem on them instead of a Plymouth emblem, but I think we're willing to let that slide. The driver's side, at least, is power adjustable, and it has an adjustable lumbar. These are very comfortable. I can always add heat in the future by peeling these covers back and sliding one of those aftermarket pads in there, or replace them with heated seats. Durangos have another cool feature, a folding 3-piece middle row seat, and I just so happen to have that too. According to my measurements, it's a little wide to fit the Barracuda. I might need to remove some of this stuff, and even that might not be enough, but it's a nice idea. And it's even got cup holders. I think that would be a nice touch. Nice seats in this car are very important to me. It's pretty important to me that the front and rears match, and I already have these, so it seems like a perfect fit. Except that they don't really fit, but more on that later. This is my friend Mitch's Dart. It has a similar treatment, and it's grown on me. They fit better than one might think. So, one of the first operations will be to pull back out this already disintegrating bench seat and mock those buckets up in here, because everything else I want to do is sort of going to depend on how much space I have. The next thing on the list is a nice stereo. And it just so happens that I have one sitting around. Now, my idea of a nice stereo might be a little different than yours. Basically, it's Bluetooth capable and not the Walmart special. Also, being free helps. This humongous crazy 6-speaker kicker amplifier was in the trunk of the Charger when I got it, and it's definitely not going back in there. This will go a long ways towards making the stereo nice. It also costs more than any amplifier I've ever seen before, so I'm glad someone else paid for it and not me. I also have an amp wiring kit left over from another job, so that makes that easy. Okay, what I really want is a big fancy touchscreen. Ideally either an Android unit or something that's capable of Apple CarPlay because, well, you know, iPhone. But this one's here, and it's got dual RCA outputs to run into this amplifier. That will be a nice setup. The speaker arrangement will include 2 6x9s here, a pair of round speakers in the kick panels, a pair of tweeters in the dash, either joined together on a custom-made panel there, where the factory mono speaker was, or maybe out here. And a pair of subwoofers mounted in custom panels in the trunk, something I've always wanted to do in one of these fastback cars. I don't actually know how well it'll work. I also don't really need that whole King Kong in the trunk effect, but it'll be nice. To round all that out back here, I'll have a nice finish panel on the bottom, and the backs of those 6x9s are going to be enclosed in sort of a box. That'll be nice too, because when that panel flips down, it'll sit level. Currently it sits down like this. And, well, if I ever want to fold the seats down and put a mattress in here, I'm going to need that. The next big ticket item is fuel economy. I have some ideas for that. Idea number 1, install slant 6. Done. Idea number 2, aluminum 4-speed overdrive transmission for lightweight and excellent highway gearing. Finished. For the rear end, I'm going to do something very silly, because this car actually has an 8 3/4 currently. I'm going to rip that out and put in a 7 1/4 for less rotational weight. It also has two 7/6 highway gears. With the overdrive box and the slant 6, this might result in a car that is more than a little anemic. But I think it's going to be fine. And if it's not fine, I can always re-gear it later. That also gets me out of this exploded wheel cylinder easily, so that's nice. Now, the Slant 6 could probably use a tune-up, so we'll definitely do that. And we'll try and make sure the Holley 1920 under that air cleaner is running to the best of its potential. Which isn't great, but we'll see how that goes. A warm running engine is an efficient engine, and to that end, I'm going to install at least a 195 thermostat in there. Maybe a 205 if I can find one. This radiator is bad. So, I think I'll replace it with one of those eBay special aluminum units because I don't care what it looks like, I just need it to work. At the same time, I think I'll go to an electric fan. For one thing, I don't think a Slant 6 even needs a fan, but that'll be another savings on rotational weight, resistance, and that means better fuel economy. I'm going to use this set of small bolt pattern slot mag rims, which I had initially planned to use for the 66 Barracuda. For one thing, they're lightweight, so again, save on drivetrain losses. And they're also the best looking wheel, so there you go. Slot mags. I even have the caps. After conferring with my local Les Schwab representative and scheming tire sizes, I've decided to go with a 215/70 R14. Should be reasonably tall, reasonably skinny, and it should get the effect I want. Because this isn't a muscle car, I'll run the same tire front and rear, and then I can even rotate my tires, which is crazy. I also plan to run those tires at just about maximum pressure for less rolling resistance. As much as I like the I'm trying to do a wheelie look, I'm going to lower the front end of the car. You know, this Slant 6 that I put in it is the 80s engine, which is lighter weight, so that might be contributing to that. I mean, half the front end's missing too, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to lower the car, and hopefully that reduces the frontal area, I guess, and makes it do better fuel economies. I may consider some mild aero treatment. I need to do some more reading on this. But I know a belly pan underneath to change disruption of air there can help with fuel economy, which, again, one of my main goals here. If I can't get where I want to be with the Holley carburetor, I'll throw it away and get a BBS. And if I can't get where I want to be with the BBS, I may consider an EFI system. I've got a spare intake manifold right here that could be drilled and have bungs welded on. And I could probably rob a 4-liter Jeep for all sorts of useful components. That's definitely a thought for the future, but I'm not even going to consider that for some time. No matter what kind of fuel economy I manage to squeeze out of this thing, I'm not going to get very far on a 2-gallon can. So I will be installing a new fuel tank. That should be here this week. Comfy seats and a stereo are great. And fuel economy is a very important factor of this deal, but a daily driver really needs to be nice to drive, or at least safe. This car leaves something to be desired on that front. For one thing, it has no brakes. More on that later. It needs a complete front end and steering rebuild. All of the tie rods, the pitman, and the idler arm are completely wasted, and I'm sure the bushings are no better. Definitely needs new shocks. While I'm at it, I'd like to install some sway bars. I actually have a rear sway bar for the car. The front I have is for a 70s style K-frame and that won't work, so I suppose I'll have to buy one of those. I've test driven many economical daily drivable cars recently, trying to decide what I should get for a commuter. One thing almost all of them share is really annoying road noise. So, to make this thing ideal in that department, I'm going to insulate and sound deaden the crap out of this thing. And obviously, it'll get carpet. One area I specifically want to focus on is here, as a lot of road noise ends up transmitted into the car through here. There's also this ginormous cavernous area to contend with. Those panels are metal, so I don't know if that's going to do what I want. But either way, there needs to be soundproofing inside of them. I need to fix this and make absolutely sure the trunk seals. First, to keep crap dry, but almost more importantly, to keep exhaust from getting sucked back into the car. This is going to be a year-round daily driver. Maybe even in the snow, I don't know. And seeing through this ginormous back window is kind of going to be important, so I'm going to add a factory-type rear defrost. There's a mount slot over there that it goes into. Hopefully that works. Obviously, being in the Pacific Northwest, wipers and windshield defrost that work are absolutely paramount, so we'll do that too. I'd like to add extra ducts to the factory heater. They tend to put out quite a bit, but it all comes out right there in the middle. I'm thinking ducts over here, and maybe under the seat and console area pointed towards the back. No daily driver is complete without a set of headlights that actually work. So I'll either do those horribly bright LED conversions, or maybe some of those drop-in halogen replacement housings, and then I can play around with different brightness bulbs. I'm also thinking fog lights are going to be a necessity. My ideal daily driver is absolutely silent. So obviously, we're going to have to do the straight pipe delete. As I mentioned in the last video, I almost bought a Lincoln Hybrid. The reason I really liked it was the interior. Comfortable heated seats, obviously. Fancy center stack center console with stereo controls and all that sort of stuff. But one thing I really liked, under dash lighting. It sort of wraps all around you, and it's just nice. It's a nice place to be. So I'd sort of like to replicate that here. Now I know I'm going to have a problem finding nice dimmable LED strips that I can control with, I don't know, something better than a stupid little clicky remote. But I'd like to do that, so we'll see. This might be silly, but I really liked the puddle lights that my 2014 Ram had, and I think I'll be adding those too. My original custom Barracuda interior vision had an overhead console, and I think I'll be adding one of those here. My idea is to use a panel type headliner instead of the factory fabric. Something like a 66 Charger would be perfect. Any daily driver really needs cubbies to keep things in, phone chargers and hot sauce. My vision for this car includes a custom center console that houses the big stereo and all the controls for the fancy things I want to add. It'll extend here. It'll kind of be flush with that lower plane on the dash panel, come straight down, and then kick out this way. Usually, custom center consoles and stacks like that are hideous. And mine probably will be too. But I'm trying to put a lot of thought into it and come up with a solution that looks like it belongs there. Obviously, having a 4-speed shifter sticking out right where the console needs to be is a bit of a problem. But, well, I'll figure it out. Before I can even start the mock-up phase for any of that, I kind of need to build a hump here. I'd like it to be removable, unlike the factory one, just in case I need to get in here and we'll take that stuff out. And obviously, I can't start that until the bench seat comes back out. And I'd like to have the buckets in there so I know where everything's going to live. Yep, there are 1,000 steps to this, just like everything else. The dash pad is horrific. I might consider deleting that and leather wrapping the entire dash panel and the center console that I end up building. I don't know if I'll really do that, but it's a nice idea. To get the dash out, the windshield has to come out. Luckily, it's ruined, and so is the gasket, so that's going to happen sooner or later. Now, there are more things the car just kind of needs. Lower quarter panels would be an asset, mostly to keep water out of the trunk. If you think I'm going to spring for full quarter skins and blow this car apart, well, think again. I am not going to do that. I may well cut up an old Dodge truck hood and make some patches, though. While I'm in the door panels wiring things like custom lights, I'll kick out that dent. I really love the patina of the car. I don't love the big chunk of unfinished Bondo, so maybe I'll just knock all that out. We'll see. Obviously, a daily driver car kind of needs a hood. Front bumper would be nice. Grills would be an asset too. We'll work on that. The gauge cluster definitely needs a rebuild since, well, not one thing in it works. And this bezel's broken anyway, so I think part of this operation will be deleting this section. Factory stereo hole's nowhere near what I need anyway. I do then have to figure out what to do with this. Any good daily driver needs a spare tire and a spare tire jack. So this one with the tread self-ejecting probably isn't going to work. This factory alternator appears to be brand new. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to put out enough juice to power all the things I want to add, so a big humongous one wire might live here eventually. At a minimum, I'll be adding a shunt wire that goes directly from the alternator to the battery. The electrical system in general, probably not going to cut it. I'll definitely be adding a newer style fuse and relay panel to power all this stuff, and I might as well just convert the whole car to use that. There aren't very many circuits here, really. And that's pretty much the list. I think if I could handle all that stuff, I'd have a really nice daily driver. It might take me 100 years, but I think I can do it. The way to handle a ginormous project like this is one piece at a time. So the next thing I need to do is make up an order of operations flowchart. Or something. Looking at the scope of this project, it seems very obvious I'm gonna have to spend a bunch of money and order some things. But I'm gonna make every effort to use the stuff I've been hoarding for years, keep costs down, because this is definitely a budget project. So that's my genius plan. Ruin this perfectly good factory original Barracuda in the hopes of achieving comfort, fuel economy, and fun. Nothing would please me more than having a fastback Barracuda I could not only drive, but drive every day. And that's all I have to say about that. What do you think about all this? Am I ruining this car? Am I improving it? Am I doing the right thing here? I could just go dump a bunch of money and, buy a Lincoln. If you had a blank slate to build yourself the ultimate daily driver, what would you do? What kind of features would it have? What am I forgetting? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of this build, follow me along in my quest to build the perfect daily drivable muscle car by clicking the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. And remember, letting the cat out of the bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back in.